What's up guys, it's Victor here coming at you with my first ever deck profile, and today I will be bringing you the deck that I took to the Santa Clara Regionals this past weekend, in which I finished in 21st place after 9 rounds of Swiss with roughly 300 players. So the deck I decided to take this weekend is actually Tearlaments Hero. It's a cool little twist on the Tearlaments deck that I think you might enjoy. It's not the best competitively, but it's definitely a lot of fun, especially when you mill the correct cards. So without further ado, let's just get straight into the deck profile. All right, so let's start with the Tearlaments. First, we play 3 Scheiren, probably the best card in the deck. It's a free discard for anything you want in the graveyard. It's a level 4, it's dark, it mills 3. The only downside is that you have no control over with the 3 that you mill, so sometimes you'll be plagued by bad luck and just mill nothing but spells and have no monster hits, but that's a part of the playing Tearlaments anyways, so it's not really that big of a deal. Next we play Havnis, fantastic card for if you lose the die roll and go second, and even if you go first, it's still fine too, because it helps you play around cards like Bestial Magnamut when they activate their on-field effect to search for a Bestial on their end phase, or during the end phase. Then we have 3 Tearlaments Merlli, probably my favorite one because it gets its mills whether it's normal or special summoned, but obviously you'd prefer special summoning this off a kit, for example, so you can mill 8 right away. And last but not least, we play 1 Tearlaments ReinoHeart. Probably the weakest of the bunch. Like, the Foolish effect is good, but with how many bestial cards are running around in the meta currently, I don't really want to focus on him too much. And even then, like, there's other normal summons in this deck that I'd much prefer over this one. So overall, it's alright. I probably wouldn't change it to more than 1. And that's it for the Tearlaments section of the deck when it comes to the monsters. Now, when it comes to the hero section of the deck, I wanted to keep it small to not break as often, but just because it's small doesn't mean it's not as important as the Tearlaments section of the cards, because the heroes section, while it is small, it actually does offer the deck a lot of versatility in your plays that you can perform. So with that, let's start with the Destiny heroes, which are 2 Malicious and 1 Denier. These are great. Malicious helps you with your rank 6 plays. It's a dark, and it's just an overall general extender. Same with Denier. You special summon it, and then you recycle one of your Maliciouses, and with that, you're able to perform more link plays or Xyz plays or whatever you want, fusion summons, you name it. Just having the extra option for another monster name is really important in this deck. And then we play 1 Elemental Hero, Shadow Mist. It's the only Elemental Hero in the deck, but that's fine. It does what its job. If it's milled, you can add any of the potential Destiny heroes like Malicious or Denier, and then you can discard them off the Scheiren, for example. So you get Destiny hero in the grave with a free 3 mill and a level 4 body, which lets you extend your plays even further. And then lastly, we have 1 Vision hero, Vyon. This is the most important one in the deck since it helps you specifically mill any single one of these heroes for whatever the occasion might be. So you might want to mill Shadow Mist, search a Destiny hero, and then you can fuse for some of the cards that are in the extra deck. You know, it's a really great card. Probably my favorite normal summon in the deck. And even then, it's great at baiting hand traps. So if your opponent has like an Imperm or an Ash or a Veiler, they will more than likely use it on this, which frees up your Tearlaments monsters to be able to combo off more successfully. When it comes to the last of my monsters for this deck, I wanted them to be extenders to help me facilitate any potential like synchro, fusion, Xyz, link plays, you name it. So for that, I decided ultimately to choose these 3 monsters. So we have first Destrudo, then we have Zephyros, and finally Trick Clown. Trick Clown is great because it comes back once per turn at the cost of 1,000 life points, which honestly doesn't really matter. It's a free rank 4 monster. It's a free name for your link plays. It's just great. Then you have Zephyros, who can come back once per duel. One of my favorite personal plays to use with Zephyros is to bounce back like a Havnis, for example. So that way you have Zephyros that you can use for rank 4 or a link or whatever. And then you have the Havnis still, so that you can use that during your opponent's turn when they decide to try and play with a monster effect. And then lastly, we have Destrudo, who's cool. Pay half your life, special summon him. He's pretty much always going to help you bring out the synchro monster that we play in the extra deck. These all performed really well. I love the cards. I wouldn't change anything about them going forward. with the monsters out of the way, we can now focus on the spell portion of the deck, which we play 3 Planet. It's a great card. Searches any Tearlament monster. It boosts every Tearlament monster by 500, as well as any fusion monster you control. And if a Tearlament monster is shuffled from the graveyard into the deck or the extra deck, you can destroy 1 card on the field. Card's great. You need 3. Literally the heart and soul of the deck. It's just fantastic. Then we play 3 Tearlaments Scream. This card just released in Darkwing Blast. It's also another really good card because if a monster is normal or special summon, so that means either you or your opponent performs a summon, and you control a Tearlament monster, you are able to mill 3 more cards from your deck. So it's literally just mill 3, hit another name, then you can combo off during your opponent's turn, and then with an added bonus, it also lowers your monster's opponent's attack by 500 attack points every time this effect resolves. And if you combine that with the planet, your monsters are pretty big and your opponent has a really difficult time outing this. And if this card is sent to the graveyard, you can also search for any Tearlament trap card in your deck. So this card's fantastic. Instant 3 the moment it was released. I just cannot speak well enough about this card. It's just insane that this was printed. Then next we have 3 Tearlaments Grief. It special summons a Tearlament monster from your deck, and then you send 1 card with the same attribute or type from your field to the grave. This is great because you can activate it even if you don't control any monsters. You just have to send the same card that you summoned. So this is pretty much always going to be an instant fusion or an instant possibility to fusion if you send Merlli, Scheiren, or Havnis. And then it works really well with the hero portion of the deck as well, since, take for example Vision Hero Vyon. Vyon shares attributes with every single Tearlament monster in this deck. So you're able to special summon whichever one you want and just send the Vyon instead. Card's great. It's fantastic. It's always an extra extender. One of my favorite places to do with it, honestly, is when I have a Kitkallos, for example, and they negate it with like an Imperm or something. I can activate Tearlaments Grief, special summon the Merlli, send the Kitkallos, and then I still get my mill 8 no matter what. Card's fantastic. I definitely would recommend 3 if you can. And then lastly, we have 1 Tearlaments Heartbeat. It returns a spell or trap on the field and you don't even have to control a Tearlament monster for it. All you have to do is send 1 card from your hand to the graveyard. It's alright. I never use that effect. I normally use the second effect, which is whenever it's sent to the graveyard, right, by a card effect, you can add 1 trap from your grave to your hand. So if you get unlucky and mill like a Sulliek or a Cryme, but you mill it with this, you can add those back, and then you can just continue to combo off while having security that you can be able to stop your opponent's plays during their turn. Next, we can move on to the non-Tearlament spell cards that I play in the deck. So first off, you play 3 Super Poly. Fantastic card. Don't know why it's still at 3. It literally helps you break any single board, especially against like the greedy Tearlament players who end on Dweller Rulkallos. So you can just draw phase, use your turn player priority, Super Poly them away, make Mudragon, and then you can continue on with your plays. And then it's also great as like helping you OTK, for example. So your opponent has like a weak board, but you don't have enough damage to actually kill them. You can attack, and then during the same battle phase, you can still Super Poly, and then you can go for the winning push. Just overall, fantastic card. And then next we play 1 Vanilla Poly. It's great. It's searchable off of Vyon. It helps you extend your plays in case you get like impermed or something. Or even if your hand is weak, this card is just fantastic. There's not much to say about it. It's just Poly is Poly, you know. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. But even if it's bad, at worst, you can just discard it for, say, Super Polymerization, right? Or just anything else in general. But this card's always solid. Next, we have 1 Reinforcement of the Army. Great card. You can search any of your hero monsters, except for Malicious because it's level 6. Or you can search for Tearlaments ReinoHeart, depending on if your hand requires it or not. And then for the other one-ofs, we have Called By, good instant fusion, win instantly if it resolves. Terraforming, search the field spell, and 1 Foolish Burial to mill a name just in case you need to. I felt the spell lineup was really good. I wouldn't really change anything out of this either. That's all just extender, 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 because my philosophy is pure gas, no breaks. So we're just always trying to play through our opponent's board without, like, you know, having to stop or whatever. And each card is just super solid in their own right. And yeah, with that, we can finally move on to the trap portion of the deck. And lastly, when it comes to the traps, we play the same 3 traps that everyone else plays, which are 1 Cryme, 2 Sulliek, not much to say, Infernity Barrier, Monster Negate. They both help trigger your Tearlament monsters during your opponent's turn to help you fusion summon and break their boards easier, or just make your boards more unbreakable. Sulliek is sent to the grave. You can search for any Tearlament monster. Just really good, really solid cards. If you go second, you side out the Cryme. It's no big deal. Yeah, there's not much else to say. They're just good cards in general. And that's it for the deck. It's a total of 40 cards, no more, no less. Gotta be as consistent as possible, you know? So with that, we can finally move into the extra deck and the side deck. So starting with the extra deck, we're gonna start off with the Link monsters actually instead of the fusion monsters. So first, we play 1 Underworld Goddess. This is great. It's basically just there to help you out Towers cards such as Avermax or the Arrival, in case anyone still plays them. It actually came up a few times, and even then, it's a really good board breaker. So I wouldn't really change anything about it. And then we also played 1 Dark. It's great. You can bring back your opponent's bestial monsters to link off or Xyz with. It's a rank 2, so you can also just use it to make Elf, or if your opponent has a Merlli in the grave, you can reborn the Merlli and mill 3. There's just a lot of really cool uses for this card. Then we also have Sprite Elf. Fantastic. Best link 2. Recycle. Bring back your own Merlis. And then my favorite part about this actually isn't even the reborn. It's the fact that your opponent can't target monsters this card controls with card effects. So it helps save anything that it points to from being impermed or like targeted with the Tearlament field spell. It's just a really, really solid card. And then lastly, we play Proxy F Magician. Probably my favorite link 2 in the deck. Because of what it's able to accomplish, which is fusion summoning using the Destiny Heroes, for example. And then what you'd normally be fusion summoning with the Proxy F Magician is Destiny Hero Destroyer Phoenix Enforcer. And then there's like a lot of really cool uses. Like for example, say you have a Proxy F Magician, right? And then you special summon the Enforcer here. You can special summon, for example, Merlli in your hand or a Destrudo in your hand, because whenever a monster is fusion summoned to a zone this card points to, you can special summon a monster with 1,000 or less attack. So then you can go Proxy, Special Enforcer, special either Destrudo or Merlli, and then you can link off those two into Sprite Elf, and then you can just continue on with your plays. So you have the Elf with the Destroyer that it's typically pointing to, so it can't be targeted. And you have like a free reborn. It's just great and fun interaction. And then you also have Destiny Hero Dangerous. It's a cool card, level 6. You normally summon it by fusion summoning a Tearlament monster with a Destiny Hero monster. It has a cool effect. You discard, you can foolish any Destiny Hero monster. So if you have like a Zephyros or a Trick Clown or Destrudo in your hand, you discard it, send Malicious, and then you can just go Malicious effect and to summon it out with a Dangerous, and then from here you can either use your Proxy or you can use this card, Beatrice, Lady of the Eternal, which is a really cool card because it's a foolish burial for any single card in your deck. Spell, monster, trap, doesn't matter. So you can just foolish whatever card you haven't used or might need, and then you can just continue to combo off even if your opponent has like interrupted you. It's just a really cool card. And then continuing off with the Xyz, we have 1 Dweller. If you resolve Dweller, you pretty much win like a majority of the time. Card's insane. And then outside of Dweller, we can move on to the 1 Synchro monster, which is FA Dawn Dragster. This is typically what you're summoning off of the Destrudo play. It's a free spell and trap negate. It's really cool. And then for some reason, it also pierces. If that comes up sometimes, it might, you never know. And it's just a really cool card, and then it helps make your boards even more unbreakable since it's a free spell and trap negate, which is something that this deck actually does struggle with sometimes. Next, we have the Super Poly targets. So 1 Garura, 1 Dragostapelia, and 1 Mudragon. Not much to say. If you open them, you can make it. Just Super Poly your opponent, get rid of their resources, summon your own. But Garura has another use also, so you can shuffle back your own Tearlaments, special summon this, and then you can link it, or not link it, you can Xyz with either the Malicious or the Dangerous into a Beatrice and then continue off with your plays. So there's a lot of synergy there. And then lastly, for the last 3 cards, we have 1 Kit, 1 Kaleido, 1 Rulkallos. Great cards, heart and soul of the deck, free bounce to help ensure that you're going to win. And then this is a free monster negate, or a free negate for an effect that special summons a monster. So it stops Nib, stops Bestials, just fantastic card. Extra deck is super tight, but I probably wouldn't change anything about it going forward. If I do decide to take this to like Pasadena, for example, which I'm probably not because I don't really feel like dealing with the Yoshizu stuff. But yeah, that's the extra deck. 15 cards, super solid. I wouldn't change anything about it. Just, yeah, so I think it was pretty much perfect. And finally, we can just move on to the side deck. So we play 3 Spooky Dogs and 1 Scattershot. You know, there's just time cards because mirror matches take too long. So, and there's no way you can finish them in 40 minutes. So you definitely need these cards just so you can have an edge and win the game. As much as that sucks to say, but they're just pretty much required at this point. And you play 2 Lava Golems to help break your opponent's board. Card's cool. It doesn't really affect you too much since you don't really normal summon all that much. And then you have the 1 Pankratops. Great. It's a great one of if you draw it. It helps you outboard easily. Not much else to say. We put 1 Baguska in here. This is mainly for the Fluandries matchup. So you just take out the Dweller because that card's worthless and you put this one in. And if you get like Shifted or whatever, you can just make this. And it's normally enough to buy you a turn. Yeah, it's an okay card. It's not terrible. And then we play 2 Crossout Designator. It's good in the mirror match. It's really good if you're going into time. You just put these in. And then if your opponent decides to try and hit you with a Spooky Dog, you can Crossout Designator it and then continue with your plays. And you should be able to win the game from there. And then we have Spell and Trap Destruction. So we have 2 Lightning Storm, 2 Cosmic, 1 Duster. It's just pretty generic, you know. Tried to build the side so they can compete against the most things possible. And I think overall it worked. For the upcoming Tearlament format, I'd probably just drop the Lava Golems. Or not the Lava Golems, I'd probably just drop the Crossout Designators and the 1 Duster and just put in like 3 Neko Main Kings so that you can just end your opponent's turn and hopefully you can kill them on yours, but it's pretty doubtful. But yeah, that's the deck profile. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, whatever, and I'll see you guys soon, maybe with like a potential vlog or who knows, maybe another deck profile if I do well at Pasadena. But until then, see you next time.